And we're back. I do apologize. The last exhibit that we covered, obviously the mic was not turned on. I can't stand when I do that. I am so very sorry in my Donald Trump voice. But please like, share, comment if you want to get an update on exhibit 140 that I just covered. Obviously, without any sound, I did not realize that. You can go and look at the Supreme Court docket yourself and look at the entire exhibit. But what I'm going to do now is, because I did not cover exhibit 139, I'm going to go ahead and cover that exhibit with you guys now, since it is filed with the Ohio Supreme Court. So please like, share, comment. Don't forget to subscribe. I need your subscription, guys. It doesn't cost you a nickel. You're on YouTube, you need to be subscribed to our YouTube channel and Word on the Street Talk TV worldwide. And then we have multiple FCN Watchdog media channels. Now, you guys are seeing what we're doing. We have our boots on the ground. We're not just talking the talk. We're walking the walk. If there's a misconduct in your area, scamified elected officials, we want to know about it. Doesn't matter if they're an attorney, if they're a police officer, if they're a judge. I don't care. If you are sworn to take the same oath that I am sworn to take as a notary, then that means you better damn well believe that you better be upholding the Constitution, just like I have to uphold the Constitution whenever I put my notary stamp on any document. I don't know where these guys get off thinking because I'm an attorney, I can just do whatever I want to do. I can break the law and nobody cares. I think it's all a scam because they're all licensed by the same entity. So you're going to sit here and tell me with a straight face that if these guys golf together and have lunch together and all this, but then we're going to walk in the courtroom and act like we hate each other. And then at the end of the day, everybody's slapping each other's hand and you slap my back, scratch my back, I scratch yours. It's all a scam. And our job is to expose. So go to FCN Watchdog Media and you might need our assistance one day. You think all of it, that you're going to get a fair shake anytime you deal with the court systems? Look, I've never been in trouble in my life. I'm a plaintiff in a court case. And how do you tell me that I never get to see a judge? And then you want to sit here and tell me with the straight face that, oh, yes, there's no difference between African Americans and other races when it comes to the court system. It's a scam. Yes, it is. I had multiple entities somehow keep this case away from a jury. Ironically, in this whole scenario, I'm the only one that's African American. So don't tell me that there's no mistreatment in races here. Never been in trouble in my life and got told that I was a criminal. Put on documentation so State Farm could wiggle out of paying an insurance claim that they were legally responsible for. And you think that I'm going to sit back and say, bygones be bygones? Police department 2.2 miles from our business, and somehow they don't show up for an hour, and State Farm doesn't question any of the police department. You don't got no questions for the mayor when he told me that he was going to get another police department to help investigate this case. This guy was a liar, and that's why his ass is in federal court right now, Mr. Mayor Multo. You lied, buddy. You dropped the case with no suspects found 6 days after the break-in when I hired an attorney. That's when you dropped the case. And you want me to believe that if any other business in downtown Swanton was broken into, that the Swanton Police Department would drop the investigation 6 days later? Meanwhile, back at the ranch, former employer is contacting me impersonating the Swanton Police Department. Ain't that a crime? If I set up and called anybody acting like the police, I promise you they're going to be at my door with the silver bracelets. But this guy gets away with it. This is why McNeil Chevrolet is in federal court. How are you harassing me while I'm trying to fight for my rights? And State Farm, you're supposed to be investigating all of this. Well, then why didn't you ask McNeil's any questions? I worked there for 7 years as the finance manager. Don't give me your happy horse scam. If it takes me 20 years, I don't give a damn. If my great-grandkids will benefit from this, you're going to pay for what you did. It's not going to go away. I'm not going to go away. I work on the weekends. I work at midnight. I work at 2 a.m. Whenever I feel the need to drop an exhibit, I will. You have to be approved through the court to be able to use the electronic system. So although I'm covering these exhibits with you now, they're not stamped yet, but they will be stamped on Monday morning. I'm just bringing them to the public early. State Farm is a scam. Don't hire them. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Exhibit 139. Supreme Court of Ohio, case number 2025. 1257. Exhibit 139. Similar cases and pattern practices against State Farm Fire and Casualty Company. Relator Marquise L. Kimble. Respondent State Farm Fire and Casualty Company. Prepared by Minister Marquise L. Kimble, Relator. Introduction and purpose. This exhibit is submitted to the Ohio Supreme Court in support of the relator's complaint in Kimble versus State Farm Fire and Casualty Company. Case number 2025-1257. This exhibit demonstrates that the alleged discriminatory, retaliatory, and bad faith conduct directed against relator Marquise L. Kimble is not isolated, but rather reflects a nationwide pattern and practice of systemic misconduct by State Farm Fire and Casualty Company, hereinafter State Farm, against protected class of policyholders, particularly Black homeowners and individuals asserting civil rights. The following cases, investigations, and legal proceedings established that State Farm's conduct alleged in this matter mirrors documented patterns of racial discrimination in claims processing and settlement practices, algorithmic bias in automated decision-making systems, systematic delay and obstruction of legitimate insurance claims, bad faith claims handling, and fraudulent claims practices, retaliation against policyholders, exercising legal rights, defamation and obstruction of justice, collusion with state regulators and legal professionals, which is what I think is going on with us. Deprivation of civil rights under color of state law. Foundational legal framework. Federal civil rights protections. The conduct alleged against State Farm and Kimble versus State Farm implicates multiple federal civil rights statutes. Fair Housing Act, 42 U.S.C. 3601, prohibits discrimination in housing-related transactions, including insurance practices affecting home ownership or business ownership. Civil Rights Act of 1964, 42 U.S.C. 1983, provides remedy for deprivation of constitutional rights under color of state law. Americans with Disabilities Act, 42 U.S.C. 12101, prohibits discrimination based on a disability status. Age Discrimination in Employment Act, 29 U.S.C. 621, protects against age-based discrimination. Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, 18 U.S.C. 1961, provides remedy for patterns of racketeering activity. B, state insurance law violations. Ohio and other states have enacted statutes that explicitly prohibit unfair claim settlement practices. Ohio Insurance Code 395602, Unfair Methods, Acts, or Practices. Unfair Claim Settlement Practices Act, adopted in all 50 states. It includes Ohio use scams. State bad faith standards. Each state recognizes tort liability for insurance bad faith. Similar cases and pattern evidence. Husky versus State Farm Fire and Casualty Company. Northern District of Illinois. Case number 122CV07014. Filed December 2022. Status pending. Ain't that a shame? They still fighting. Plaintiff Diane Husky filed a racial discrimination class action lawsuit against State Farm, alleging that the company claims processing methods discriminate against Black homeowners in violation of the Fair Housing Act and state law. The lawsuit was based on a study conducted by the Center on Race inequality, I can never say that word, inequality, and the law at New York University School of Law, analyzing claims processing data for more than 800 State Farm policyholders in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Missouri, look at that, Ohio, and Wisconsin. So these scams are already under the microscope in the state of Ohio. Don't hire state scam. It's a scam. Key findings. Statistical evidence of discrimination. Black homeowners' claims were disproportionately subjected to greater suspicion than white counterparts. Oh, like I said, there's no way McNeil Chevrolet would have went through what I went through if their alarms went off that morning. State Farm was significantly more likely to request additional documentation from Black claimants. Wait a minute, you scams. Black claimants required substantially, look at this, more interaction with State Farm employees to resolve their claims. I dealt with a whole list of scams before attorneys got involved. Claims processing times were longer for Black claimants versus white claimants. 250 days. So they could then deny with no evidence. Denial rates were higher for Black claimants. Wow. What the specific facts regarding plaintiff Husky? Suffered hail damage to her residence. State Farm repeatedly delayed assessing the damage. Company forced her to provide excessive additional information. Sounds like deja vu over here. State Farm declined to pay portions of the claim for external damage. Claim took over 8 months to process despite clear evidence coverage. Sounds exactly like us. This is why this is an exhibit. Legal theories. Disparate impact under FHA. Algorithmic decision-making tools and claims processing methods have discriminatory effect. Breach of contract. Failure to pay valid claims under policy terms. Bad faith. Unreasonable denial and delay of claims. Same thing. Violation of state insurance codes. Unfair claim settlement practices. Unfair competition. Systematic denial and underpayment of claims. Court rulings. In September 2023, the Northern District of Illinois Court ruled, granted in part, denied in part, State Farm's motion to dismiss. Court found plaintiffs had sufficiently alleged a disparate impact claim based on statistical evidence and algorithmic bias. Court rejected State Farm McCarn-Ferguson Act preemption defense. So they try to use that as a defense scam. Court found FHA protections applicable to insurance claim practices. Case permitted to proceed on racial discrimination theories. Look at that, right there in federal court. So I'm allowing this to move on with the Supreme Court, and then I'm going to yank these guys right in federal court. Oh, it's coming. Connection to the Kimble case. Documented systematic racial discrimination affecting Midwestern states, including Ohio. Algorithmic bias in State Farm's automated systems. Pattern of claiming black policyholders as fraudulent or suspect. Excessive documentation. Demands on minority claimants. Delay tactics and obstruction of claims resolution. Use of race-coded language. Braggadocious. Loud to high. Excessive jewelry. That's what they said about me. And stereotypes in claims assessments. Husky demonstrates statewide and multi-state pattern, not an isolated incident. Federal court validated statistical evidence of systematic bias. NYU study involved independent academic research center, multiple individuals across 6 Midwestern states affected identically. So it looks like State Farm is a scam all over the United States. I don't care how big their commercial is. They are a scam. B, Grout versus State Farm, California class action. Central District of California. Case number 221 CV00544. Filed January 2021. Class certified ongoing. So these scams are still fighting another case that they've had to fight since 21. Allegations and facts. Married couple Dan Grout and Melissa Pitkin filed a class action lawsuit against State Farm, alleging underpayment of property insurance claims through improper depreciation methodologies. The lawsuit developed into one of the largest property insurance class actions in United States history, with approximately 200,000 class members. Pay attention. State Farm is a scam. Underpayment scheme. State Farm systematically deducted sales tax depreciation when calculating actual cash value benefits. Practice reduced policyholders' recovery by thousands of dollars per claim. Company applied methodology contrary to California insurance code. The scheme affected nearly 200,000 homeowners statewide. In July 2025, the federal court certified a class of approximately 200,000 homeowners, finding common legal issues predominant, systematic underpayment practices applies uniformly, Statistical evidence demonstrates pattern across all claims. Individual variations do not preclude class treatment. Common remedy available through policy audits and recalculation. Connection to Kimble's case. The pattern indicators demonstrate State Farm's systematic undervaluation of policyholder claims nationally. Shows company uses technical formula-based methods to deny or reduce coverage. Federal courts have validated pattern and practice theories. Class action mechanism proves systematic nature of conduct. C. Bellotti versus State Farm Fire and Casualty Company. Southern District of Ohio. Case number 322CV01284. Filed March 2022. Status ongoing. Another long scam. Property owners Jamie Bellotti and co-plaintiffs sued State Farm for underpayment of water damage claims resulting from frozen pipe damage. The case alleges State Farm systematically failed to pay for replacement costs of damaged property using similar construction standard as required by policy. Key issues. State Farm failed to pay replacement costs with similar construction. Companies substituted cheaper materials and methods. Systematic practice of depreciation abuse. Bad faith claims handling. Breach of contract. Connection to the Kimble case. Systematic underpayment. Demonstrates ongoing pattern in federal courts. Ohio venue, Southern District. Shows in-state State Farm misconduct. Replacement cost disputes parallel Kimble's allegations. D. California State Farm settlements and investigations. 2.9 million settlement. Diminished value claims. In 2024, State Farm agreed to settle claims that it systematically underpaid homeowner claims by excluding diminished value payments. This settlement demonstrates State Farm's pattern of systematic underpaying of legitimate claims, regulatory pressure leading to admissions of liability, pattern affecting multiple policyholders uniformly. Administrative rate hearings, 2025. Administrative law judge Carl Frederick Siegelman ruled in August 2025 that homeowner Merritt Farron could probe State Farm's claim handling practices during rate hearings. The decision noted systematic problems in State Farm's claim practices, evidence of discriminatory delay in wildfire claims, pattern of claim denials despite clear coverage, pattern of excessive documentation demands. Illinois Department of Insurance lawsuit, October 2025, this year. State of Illinois versus State Farm Fire and Casualty Company. Allegations. Illinois Insurance Director Ann Gillespie filed suit against State Farm and its affiliates seeking to compel production of nationwide homeowners data. The lawsuit alleges State Farm refuses to provide requested claims data, systematic pattern of claim denials, regulatory noncompliance, obstruction of insurance commissioner investigation. Significance. Demonstrates regulatory recognition of systematic misconduct, state insurance regulators identifying pattern practices, multi-state investigation into State Farm's national conduct. Bennett versus State Farm, tornado damage. Boy, they are some scams. 2017, verdict. The Bennett family suffered tornado damage to their residence, filed an insurance claim with State Farm. The insurer offered a settlement far below actual repair costs. Jury awarded $1.5 million in punitive damages, finding State Farm's conduct constituted reckless disregard for policyholders based on ignoring key damage assessments, systematic underpayment, bad faith claims practices. False Claims Act litigation. False Claims Act judgment, $3.7 million. Federal litigation resulted in a jury verdict of $3.7 million, including treble damages and attorney's fees against State Farm under the False Claims Act for knowingly presenting false or fraudulent claims to the federal government. Evidence included systematic submission of false claims, fraudulent practices affecting federal programs, pattern of deceptive conduct. Rosenwald versus State Farm Fire and Casualty Company, California Court of Appeal, case number 223CV07453. Decision, July 1st, 2023. California Court of Appeal upheld lower court's dismissal, but noted that State Farm's denial of homeowner benefits resulted from overly restrictive contractual interpretation. Case addresses policy interpretation disputes, State Farm's systematic application of limitation provisions, pattern of claim denials based on technical exclusions. Common pattern across all cases, algorithmic discrimination. Multiple cases document State Farm's use of biased algorithms and automated decision-making systems. Husky case, algorithmic claims processing discriminates against Black homeowners. Federal court findings validate algorithmic bias theories. State Farm uses machine learning programs that fail to be even-handed. Automated systems apply heightened scrutiny to protected classes. Application to Kimble. Alleged use of algorithmic denial of coverage appears consistent with documented bias in State Farm systems. Y'all, my words running together reading all this stuff. I'm just trying to keep you guys updated. Systematic underpayment schemes. Multiple cases document State Farm systematic underpayment methodologies. Grout case, 200,000 claimants harmed by systematic and underpayment. Bellotti case, similar construction standards systematically ignored. 2.9 million settlement for diminished value underpayment. Federal courts recognize pattern as systematic. Application to Kimble. Alleged undervaluation of coverage parallels documented underpayment practices. C, bad faith claims handling. Documented pattern of bad faith across multiple jurisdictions and claim types. Bennett case, 1.5 million punitive damage for reckless disregard. Excessive documentation demands. Unreasonable delays in processing. Claim denials despite clear coverage. Retaliation against claimants asserting rights. Alleged bad faith conduct mirrors documented patterns. Discrimination against protected classes. Regulatory non-compliance and obstruction. Defamation and retaliation. Then I put a graph in there so they can see the breakdown of the graph of the scam. The point is, don't hire State Farm. It's a scam.